Social music talk.
I wanted to be on the telephone absolutely as much as possible, talking to everybody, but of course mainly picking up girls. And I had to get volunteers to answer the phone on Saturday nights, which I pretty much owned.
So the phones were nonstop Saturday night?
Well, Saturday night, 6 to midnight.
And what direction did your markets take you, like say San Jose, like as far as the audience, did it lean in a certain direction for rock, or was it just multi-genre, like all kinds of stuff mixed in with rock?
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
So you did you have a strict definition for rock or any kind of definition? Okay.
Of course not.
Okay.
Well, the strict definition for rock. Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that and reminded me of this. When I became PD at KOME, Time magazine did a good article on rock, which included a centerfold in Time magazine of something like a flowchart. Not so much a family tree. Well, kind of like a family tree, kind of like a flowchart.
Right.
That on the left said country music, and on the right said blues. And you could instantly see from Elvis Presley on the left, and B.B. King, Ray Charles on the right, that rock is simply the mixed race progeny of the miscegenation of white country and black blues.
That's what Rock Around the Clock was by Bill Haley in '55.
Well, Bill Haley was white. Yeah,
that's true. It was country mixed with blues. The same way with Chuck Berry. He's talking about a country boy in his song Johnny Be Good.
As far as I'm concerned, Chuck Berry is the father of rock and roll in a lot of ways, although he was preceded by others.
Sure.
Well, I put this poster up on the wall in the studio when I was KOME PD, and I think it's important that everybody look at it.
Well, a band like Sly and the Family Stone, there was no controversy playing that. It had nothing to do with black or white, right? I mean, you just played it if it rocked.
Sly is one of the few radio disc jockeys who decided to become a performer. There are a few others besides the Big Bopper.
Right. Oh, Willie Nelson was on the air before he was a country star. And Waylon Jennings.
Don't know that much about country. That's one reason I left Oklahoma.
For Orange
County. I kept running out of quarters as a teenager, pumping the jukebox for Ray Charles to block out all the hillbillies.
Well, let's talk about going back to the early 60s for a minute. You said that you were considered one of the first rock programmers in America based on an article by Billboard or a music industry article?
Yeah. We had been rocking full time, and I don't recall if we signed off between midnight and 6 at various times. I don't think we were 24 hours, but that was purely volitional. FM license like that could be 24 hours if it wanted to, but I think we were signing off at midnight and signing on at 6 a.m. So I'll just say full time. We'd been full-time rock, pretty much top 40 with extensions, let's say. For some time, when I read in Billboard that some FM in New Jersey was playing rock part-time, so I gathered the staff together. I was the program director. And I said, look, we've got to get a letter to Billboard to the effect that we've been rocking full-time on FM for quite some time.
And what year was that?
I'm thinking 64.
Okay.
Beatles.
So Beatles had already broken early in the year. Okay. So by saying that you were playing rock around the clock, but what I mean is constant rock music. Did you have any kind of definition of rock in that era in '64? Did it have to be a guitar type sound? Like, did Bob Dylan fit in?
Of course not. Of course not. Although the theme song, I used some instrumental theme music for my own shift, which was Dick Dale's Miserlou.
Okay, surf rock.
Specifically because although those of us in coastal Orange County knew surf music very well, and I think it got some play in L.A. as well, knew that people in the Midwest had never heard of it, it would blow them away, which it did.
Okay.
And of course, Quentin Tarantino was an infant at the time.
Oh,
but he
sure,
decided
right.
to use it in Pulp Fiction and however many other advertisers have been using it.
Yeah, surf rock was a
Yeah.
craze like 62 to 64.
You talking about surf music?
Yeah.
Mainly Orange County,
Yeah.
San Diego.
And the Beach Boys, they actually came on the scene around 62.
Watch out. The Beach Boys are not surf music.
Okay, tell me why.
Surf music is very rarely vocal.
Right, instrumental like Pipeline.
Okay, Pipeline and Wipeout are typical of coastal Orange County and maybe LA and maybe San Diego. True surf music. Beach Boys came along later. They're inland landlubbers. They're Everly's Four Freshmen vocals. Have nothing to do with surf music.
Okay. Even though they sang about it, Surfing
That's a
USA,
misconception.
Surfing Safari.
Oh, sure. Well, Chuck Berry sang about the same kind of stuff.
Exactly, with the same melodies, except earlier.
Yeah. He sang about things that high school kids wanted
So
to
to call
hear.
yourself a rock station, how was that different from Top 40 at that time?
It wasn't that much different than Top 40 at that time, but we were a little looser.
Okay,
The point is that that's all we did was rock.
okay,
We weren't doing it for 2 hours a day like a station in New Jersey.
okay. But that rock could have included anything that was on the Billboard Top 10?
Oh, I hope you're not seriously talking about the top 10. It's a Billboard Hot
Well, I'm
100.
asking, did you guys play a lot of top 10 music, or was there a rule that to stay away from that?
I would avoid this notion of top 10. Okay, top 40. Okay, top 100.
Well, I mean, the
okay.
biggest hits. That's what I'm talking about. The biggest hits that in the mid-'60s, Drake, Chenault started researching music, and then they started focusing on the biggest hits. I wondered if you guys were at that point by 64.
If the question is, did we play everything that was in the top 10? Probably, but we played everything that was in the top 40 or 50.
Okay,
Well,
that's what I'm asking. What was there anything that could have made the top 10 that you would avoid, like Barbara Streisand, People? Did you play songs like that?
possibly. And I'm glad you picked one of my favorite examples, Streisand.
Yeah, she's a wonderful artist, but I'm just wondering, did she fit in a rock station, a rock
I'm
format?
glad you picked that example. Streisand, beautiful singer. For some reason, I can't stand it. I don't know why.
Maybe because
Sinatra's a great
maybe
singer,
because
but,
she overdoes it. Maybe no.
I don't know. No offense, Barbara.
Like Julie, but maybe another example is Julie Andrews. Would you play something from
I
the
doubt
Mary
it.
Poppins soundtrack?
You've reminded me of an example I wanted to provide.
Yeah.
Joni Mitchell.
Right. Great
It
songwriter.
wasn't that long ago that I used to complain that the only place you could hear Joni Mitchell anymore was Starbucks. Well, it's about a year and a half now. Starbucks music is a total disaster.
Yeah.
They hired somebody who was way too young, and before they had somebody who was way too old. And what I'm hearing is that it's Spotify. And they don't begin to know their
What?
anatomy from a hole in the ground.
Yeah, they tried to be a record label for a while.
As far as what music playing Starbucks is concerned, but for the longest time, you could not hear Joni Mitchell on any radio station of any kind. The
Right.
only place
Except
you would hear her
maybe
was
Both
Starbucks.
Sides Now. That's been a classic.
My point is, that occurred to me earlier, you would hear Joni Mitchell on KSJS, no
Okay.
problem. But you would also hear Led Zeppelin.
Right.
You would hear Firesign Theater and Zappa once in a great while.
Did you play 13th floor elevators?
Yeah, I thought about it, for sure.
Okay. So you went deep into the underground, but you mixed it in with
I
a
don't
lot
like
of
that word
familiar music.
underground. I do not like that word underground.
Right. Well, it means not
Lose
on the
it.
charts. Like Billboard calls it other things. But you
Forget
know what?
about charts. Forget about numbers.
Yeah.
Forget about sales.
Listen to the music.
That's right.
Doobie Brothers, 1972.
Okay.
And they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as an inductee, a nominee this coming year. So anyway,
Yeah. Okay.
we are wrapping it up right now, and I really appreciate you calling in, J. William Weed. Thanks for telling us your stories about 60s, 70s radio. Social music.